Let me use the next roughly 20 minutes to quickly talk about the technical achievements that we have made during the last year. Or at least, I mean, actually, it is better that the members speak about it, what they did, actually, than what the organization is talking about. So, but nevertheless, you already know the NDS Live specification is available online. We took the liberty to, so we're not really collecting data. The only amount is like how many registrants do we actually have? So is it actually used outside of the NDS community? And I think I can say it is, because we have, when we're excluding all the NDS members and taking the number of people that have signed up for the NDS Live developer portal, we have roughly 1,000 registrants, where out of those, 600 were using private email addresses, because this is, we can only state by looking at the email address who this is, right? So, and roughly 500 corporate email addresses. So to see that, we do know that from the private ones, it's not really a private sector or whatever. It's mainly a lot of people are actually not allowed to use their company addresses for things like this, or there also includes others like students or whatever who are looking up things. So I think it's quite an enormous amount. I think we opened it, the developer portal for NDS Live roughly 2 years ago. So the number is steadily growing. And we also, from the usage point of view, the number of Slack channel users on our support channel also has grown up to roughly 350 now, where we're happy to answer all the questions people have about the NDS Live format, because you've heard it. It is kind of a complex thing in total, and although we're striving for getting you best documentation that we can, there are always missing pieces, and we really love the feedback from the community to also being able to improve that documentation, that we don't have to actually answer so many questions. So that's the ultimate goal in the end. But looking at the releases that we did in the last year, so if you do not know already, NDS Live follows a agile development process. So we're doing kind of like monthly to bi-monthly releases, so 2 monthly releases. We introduced the global source ID in June after the last NDS conference. 3D objects attribute layer was still needed to be migrated. The next one had just smaller fixes. Global icons and junction view images storage. I mean, Björn talked about it. Yeah, there were certain white spots or gray spots on the module lists in 2022. We tried to fix them and bring them in last year. The more and more you see smaller fixes, not the huge ones. If you would compare this to the year before, we're still migrating things from NDS Classic and so on and so forth. So it's more going into improvements, better documentation, and so on and so forth. So just also from that release perspective, you see it's maturing, and we'll not have these big bad breaking changes any longer. So services getting more self-describing. You don't need additional information. Improved search in terms of improved the capability to do the offline search, which we still have not standardized so far. But we got the feedback, yeah, if you put a little bit more in this data, we can actually do this offline search then more easy and more successful. And we have, like, the only big feature that we've been adding recently is the drive path module. So drive paths for HD is basically aggregated crowd data, so cars where you actually know, okay, there's a difference on where they drive compared to the HD lane model. So basically you have the HD lane model, and you're not driving on rails, right? So nobody wants to take simply the center line and drive on that. So there's a more natural line you could drive on, which is then called the drive path. So you're putting this on top to also give the car a better guidance along along your HD maps, which paths to take. And also we improved the compatibilities or the backwards and forwards compatibility of the format. This was also mentioned in the MX-Navi slides with this min version and what to use when. And yeah, the latest release was more or less, you see, it's more about metadata, documentation improvements, and so on and so forth. So I think we can say from a development purpose point of view, we're now at a point where the migration is done, where there's still smaller things to fix. But as we've heard from the colleagues that have spoken before, we're actually there. You can actually use it, and but we're always happy to get the feedback. We're always happy to help you out, and we're always happy to find the white spots. There will always be small ones, right? And it would be great to discover them together with you. Another topic that we had, and I don't want to spoiler this because actually the next presentation will be totally dedicated to that, is the topic of NDS Live over AutoSAR SAM IP. So simply to have it on the slides here, there's been a task force established last year in NDS Live to address this, in NDS Association to address this topic, and Olena will be giving you a presentation later on exactly on what the goals were, what we have achieved so far. There's also a new NDS Live map viewer, so talking about tools. So this is one of the bigger changes. So you've seen in the presentations we've seen so far, you've seen the old map viewer that we provided, which is still there, but it's kind of like sunsetting, because we have a new one. We took all the feedback and improvement ideas in. We have generated a kind of like development team, which is not only the NDS subcontractors, but also the NDS members who want to make code contributions. So we have already received code contributions from the members, and it's steadily increasing, getting more. And the development highlights you see there, I'll have a video on one of the next slides, is like you can now do also the search and filtering on features, then visualizes all the features that we have there for roads, lanes, localization landmarks. It has now completely new customizable highlighting and styling system, so you can basically come with your own map style, especially also important when you want to do these searches and filters and highlightings also within your teams or whatever for a specific use case, and so on and so forth. So this is completely new. It has major performance improvements over the old map viewer, because the old map viewer, I think 1 or 2 years ago, or was it on the conference or in another meeting, we heard from users, yeah, it's all nice, but the performance on large scale is bad. And we have seen here major improvements after we redesigned all from ground up the way we're doing things. And it now is also easily deployable as a map viewer software as a service. So here you see the development plan for this year. I don't want to go into the details here but what you see is that by the end of the year, we should be kind of like completely having all the data layers supported. We did have to shift a couple of those into the future, but this doesn't mean they cannot be implemented, because the community approach works like this, right? So this is the development plan of the paid team, I would say, right? So for the like Martin said, the NDS funds going into technical development. This is what the paid team will do, and you see this one row at the very bottom, which says community contributions. So there, all the members can anyhow pick something and say, yeah, I need this earlier. And this is the idea of having such a plan and saying, okay, if you want to have it, maybe you want to contribute on your own to get it faster. If you don't have the time, if you don't have the resources, we'll do it, but it will eventually come later. So we would try to a little bit like motivate the NDS members also to contribute here. And we have also deployed the NDS map viewer as a software as a service under viewer.nds.live, where you can actually inspect the NDS islands, which are artificial sample maps. And for the non-artificial sample map service, Otto will later on give you an outlook what we have in the future. So here you can see the map view. I think I have to click once more to start the video. So this highlights a little bit some of the latest things you can do. So we're jumping to a position here. So it supports a lot of jump to kind of things. You've seen this. So it does have and also new in comparison to the old one. It has an overlay or underlay of OSM map so that you easily figure out where you are. Now we're loading the NDS data actually. So this is the road data. We zoom in, and then we can take away the OSM layer because that is distracting a bit, and then use the feature search. So what we're doing now is we're searching for all the features here that have speed limits smaller than 30. Right? So we said, okay, I'm interested in where are speed limits smaller than 30. Within this, we're hitting here the search, and we're getting a list of, okay, where is this? You also see you should see some markers and highlights where they are in the map. And when we then click on it, we can highlight one, we can inspect the feature and its attributes on the right. We can also export this part to GeoJSON if we want to. So if you want to share this with a colleague or whatever, you can simply say this feature I want to export. So we don't have import for this, by the way, but you can export it, use it somewhere else. And where are we right now? We looked at the speed limit. The speed limit is 5. So it also supports different services. So we click now onto another service. So basically there, what you see on the left is a lane and a road service. And now we need to jump to a certain lane group. So we're jumping to a lane, actually, lane ID and lane group. This is somewhere else. So basically you don't have, if you have the information, for instance, from a bug report or whatever, you can simply paste it there, jump to that feature, find it easily, and then inspect this. So when you're clicking on any of the features, you're getting all the attributes down there. You can, with the highlighting, so the styles, you can then, for instance, look at what we're now showing is the localization landmark of the barriers on the right. And yeah, basically that is the current state there. I think it's probably it. Yeah, we can also not only show the lanes and boundaries, also the lane groups, which is then sometimes important for topology information. You can highlight those and you figure out, okay, where are the lane group IDs, where are the connectors, where's the topology? This is now also supported. And you can basically also, what we're showing here, this highlighting and stuff, it has an editor. We didn't show it here, but there's also this import style. So basically you can write your own kind of style of what you want to highlight, what you want to do, and then you can share this in your company or whatever to your colleagues and say, hey, this is how you can easily identify these kind of things that we're interested in an NDS Live map. Yep, so that was a small demo of what the NDS Live map viewer is currently capable of. And since this is the biggest advancement so far, we also have a lot of advancements for the Zero development. So Zero is the serialization mechanism, the one that's been already mentioned, and we will also have Timo later on talk about it quickly. So the main focus we had there was to continuously improve functional safety documentation, the code quality. There's also a new task force, an active task force to modernize the C++ code generator to be based on C++ 17 and then also based on MISRA 2023 guidelines, which is also based on C++ 17. And in addition, we have also improved versioning and compatibility management, upgraded to no, it's not really latest. Maybe with Python, you can say it's kind of latest with Java 17. I'm always cautious to say whether this is the latest or greatest or whatever, but it's kind of been modernized, I would say. And yeah, and below you can see still we're thriving for 100% code coverage for the runtime and so on. So the code quality is very important because Zero is used in functional safety relevant projects and will be used in the future. And it is very important that the NDS members or anybody who's using it, because it's open source. It's not only available for NDS members, it's on GitHub, can actually very easily use it in a functional safe environment and doesn't have to take the code, make your own fork, make it and add another, I don't know, hundred thousands of euros or dollars to make it fit for your functional safety requirements. There's still something going on NDS Classic side, so let's not forget this. So it's more like the maintainability. So we have fast track extensions for this to extend still the NDS Classic standard. We have now upgraded the attributes fast track extension for more detailed roadworks modeling. We continue to support, fix, and enhance tools like the database inspector, the SQLite engine, and RDS. RDS is actually the predecessor of Zero, and also the Open Drive converter. Yeah, and as always, I'm also taking here the opportunity to quickly report on behalf of Andre Heinrich about validation and certification achievements in the last year. So the NDS Classic Certification Bench, that's the product name there, has received major updates, including a migration to a newer Java version, some bug fixing, but it's also kind of sunsetting. The end of development is ahead. It's not really planned or fixed, but one of the later versions, the 5.1, is planned for November this year. In NDS Live, the product is called Certification Kit, so replace Bench with Kit. It is now productive, and this certification kit is getting updates every year. It has kind of like a little bit of, you've seen that it has a different release cycle than the specification, so it sometimes has to catch up. And yeah, the certification kit 24.2 and 24.3, they included a cache for tile layers, and new test cases, of course. That is the major effort there to implement more and more test cases, and some bug fixing. And the next version is planned for the mid of August, which will then support the localization module API. From the certification process, the certification process specification is now finished and published, also under the NDS Live developer portal. If you are a non-NDS member, you will miss this. You will not see the certification because it's actually only available to NDS members. Then the test cases for certification is steadily, the test case amount is increasing, and next step is to also then improve the documentations there. Last but not least, here are some numbers on how many certificates have been published since the very beginning of the so it's hard to correlate a certificate to a map release. So sometimes it's for map updates, some do only a base map certificate. So this is also why the numbers and the shares that you see there may be different, but there you can always see that you can see an indication how active basically the industry is by taking a look at how many certificates have been published since the last NDS public conference, which is, I think, quite much, and we still see that because they're mostly coming still from NDS Classic, so these are Classic-only figures, so that although we do not talk about Classic so much here on the conference any longer, because it's but it's still like the cash cow of the industry, I would say, in that regards. So with these numbers, I would like to conclude and say thank you. And do you have any questions?
Thank you, Fabian. I mean, this next time, this would be the perfect time for the bunch of flowers, right? Actually, there was a question in the chat. Unfortunately, it was relating to certification, And the question is, well, let's see whether we
Maybe the wrong guy to
together.
answer this.
I know. But, I mean, maybe yes. Will there be an official certificate for NDS Live functional safety readiness? I guess no.
No.
But yeah.
No, okay, this is more, I think this is more like not certification, what we talked about. So this is certification of Zero. And no, we will not do this because actually Zero is like a software component only. And you have to anyhow certify this with your complete system. I'm not sure about whether Timo will talk about something like this later on, but in general, you have to qualify or certify your complete end-to-end system, and Zero is basically only a small part of it, right? And so for full qualification, we'll have to see how other. So I've been recently in touch with Eclipse Foundation, who are trying to do this also for some open source software components. Maybe we're going to keep in touch with them and see how that goes and how much effort that is. And I wouldn't rule it out for the future, but it's currently not planned.
Okay, thanks. Any question here in the audience? Clemens?
Thank you. I would be interested to better understand what does functional safety for Serio actually means in detail. Especially, I'm curious if there will be ever a Serio variant that uses static memory allocation.
So there is, okay, two questions. First question is, we of course only talk about the C++ generator about this. So what it means at the moment is that we're taking in static code analysis tests, like defined for which are, for instance, defined in MISRA, that take up MISRA or AUTOSAR guideline rules and test them, right? Then we fix the software that these tests are all green. We show these tests have been run, and we document things that we have accepted. And we do not have a function safety manual, but we do have like a list of, for instance, when exceptions are used, right? Because it's not exception free. Sometimes that's an issue. I mean, all the MISRA guys also modernize and kind of more accept this over the years. But if you're very strict, there can still be those kind of requirements. But we have learned that if you document it, why you do it, when an exception will be thrown or so, then there can be countermeasures taken in the whole system to avoid this, but it needs to be documented, right? And so this is what we're doing there. So this, and the second question, static memory allocation. What we do at the moment, we do provide the polymorphic memory resource idea that is also brought in C++ 17 or 14, because we're still on C++ 11. And basically what you can do, you can take your own memory allocator that you have maybe been using in functional safe environments already. You can take this and simply have that one provide the memory allocations. So either it uses the one of the STL by standard, or you can simply replace them. That's the idea at the moment. So there will no be built in, but we have this option that you can bring your own, I would say. Yeah, but the tutorial, but we do lack some documentation, I think, because with everyone. So if you're interested, let me know, right? Yeah, we're trying our best to get that feedback in when we figure out people didn't understand it or whatever, or there is the possibility sometimes. So yeah, that's always about getting the thoughts out and have them written on paper.
Okay, then, well, there's still opportunity to talk to Fabian in the lunch break, which is more than 1 hour, I hope.